East 59th, between 6th and Rockefeller Plaza. And as you can see from the description and from the action taking place, the New York City group, Rise and Resist, is out here doing an action outside NBC News, which there has been some contention regarding news outlets and their coverage of the actual voting results, which are going to be coming up. So they are out here today, just creating awareness. Every vote counts. Make every vote count. Count every vote. Count every vote. Votes do count. And just a little backdrop, they have been doing these actions for quite a while to create awareness around a number of issues. Again, Rise and Resist, hashtag RAR, or just look up Rise and Resist New York City. And I'll be going over in a minute. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on everything going on in the area. Of course. Sorry, guys. It's a little early, up late from covering some stuff, so, which has a tendency to have me dropping stuff. And sorry for it being a little shaky. I'm still recording some stuff, so I'm messing around with the camera. Okay, guys, I'm gonna head on over. Oh, the man, the legend.
Thank you for being here.
Pleasure. Nice sword, and then I was like, initially I just went to the event, but then I said, no, let me let her know that I'm going to be there.
It means a lot.
Good, good. So yes, everyone knows it's going to be a contentious election coming up. Trump is definitely or let's say Trump and some of his people are definitely going to be challenging regardless of how the vote turns out. Even if it turned out in his favor, I guarantee he'll be contesting that there should have been more votes and that there's been rigging of the election. He had an issue with it when it came to his vote or last election regarding the count regarding him, but he switches up as situation demands or depending upon his whims left and right. So
taking away the decency and the way that it's talked about in the news. Even if you're like, somehow New York won, they profiled this guy. He's really happy about it. He's one of the homeless guys. He's one of the lead kind of plaintiffs in this, for lack of a better word. They profiled him, but they still framed it as, NIMBYs versus advocates for the homeless. Not about him personally having the cause.
okay.
He's like, when you think about that frame, although even though they're profiling him, it's not like he has a say in it in the profile, right? He's just something that's just bounced around and that's kind of the way it came. It was a good profile of him personally, but it really, in a way, perpetuated way of thinking is very prevalent. Now I'm thinking, how do I get at that? How do I start to erode that frame and replace it with, this actually happened Monday, it started to happen, replace it with, these guys are now representing themselves.
That I started seeing happening. Initially it was the Upper East Side group that was supporting getting things going. And I know that they're still around, involved, but yeah, they've become empowered, which is a good thing.
What happened on Monday is at a court hearing between a downtown NIMBY group and the city. The guys at the Lucerne got a lawyer and intervened. And the city fought valiantly to keep them out of it. They're the ones who are being impacted by this.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But the city fought valiantly to exclude them from the court case. And there's a long hearing. The judge stayed, we skipped lunch, stayed until like 1:30 in the afternoon, finally the judge quickly accepted the intervention. It's another part of the case. And then also gave a temporary restraining order while the case is heard.
Okay.
But that's it, but it's just, the city didn't want him in there.
Well, I'm not surprised, especially the way things have been. It's... sorry guys, I was having a conversation regarding the issue regarding the Lucerne shelter up on, I think it's 85th, and also the one downtown where they were moving individuals out of Lucerne to another location, and they were planning on displacing families and others in another shelter, which is counterproductive. So basically that's what I was in the middle of doing.
everybody. Aren't we beautiful? Look at us. Oh, yeah.
Like that. And please keep in mind I'm still half awake. Okay. Nice. Okay.
Walker from Rise and Resist. I and my fellow organizers from Rise and Resist are here to remind both the media and the political class and the American people that we have to remember to count every vote and that every vote counts in this election. This election is unprecedented. We've never had as many early and absentee votes in our nation's history. We have some states that are counting the votes as they come in. We have some states that will not count the votes until Election Day. We have other states that will not count votes that are mailed in until after. We are not going to have the traditional election night that we are used to. We are going to have the end of an election period that has been going on for over a month now. So we've gathered several activists and advocates around New York City in the areas of anti-racism, climate policy, healthcare, women's and women's health issues, and voter empowerment to discuss the reasons why we have to ensure that every vote is counted. To start off, I'd like to introduce Jamie Bauer, a founding member of Rise and Resist and a longtime ACT-upper, who will discuss some of the issues about why we are here in front of NBC News today. Jamie uses they, them pronouns.
Thank you, Jay. We are here at NBC because tonight in Nashville, NBC is hosting and Kristen Welker is moderating the last presidential debate of 2020. We demand that Kristen Welker rebut Trump if he challenges the validity of the election results. Since the day Trump began running for office, Trump has spewed thousands of lies. As we get closer to November 3rd, the last day that registered voters can cast their vote, Trump continues to spread lies about the security of voting, and he continues to misrepresent cases of fraudulent mail-in ballots. Trump says that he will look at in-person voting results on November 3rd and disregard votes received by mail. He is threatening to disenfranchise tens of millions of voters. Trump refuses to say that he will accept the results of the election. Trump refuses to commit to a peaceful transfer of power if he is not declared the winner. We call on NBC and the rest of the media to stop being complicit by repeating Trump's lies about voting without challenging and rebutting them. NBC must stop normalizing Trump's attacks on vote by mail. NBC must clearly state that every vote counts, and that it is essential to continue to count every vote until one candidate has a clear 270 votes in the Electoral College with all votes, in-person and mail-in counted. It may take a week or more to complete the vote count. NBC must reject any suggestion or attempt by Trump to disenfranchise voters to get a faster and more favorable result. Protect the vote, protect the results. Every vote counts. Count every vote.
Our next speaker will be Jawanza Williams. Jawanza is a black radical queer prison abolitionist, socialist, feminist, Christian. He works with Vocal New York as the director of organizing. He is a member of the Democratic Socialists of America and a founding member of the Afro-Socialists and Socialists of Color Caucus. He trains professional organizers to increase the capacity of nonprofit community-based organizations. He has worked on LGBTQ youth homelessness issues both through Vocal New York and Queerocracy, and is a writer and aspiring filmmaker. Jawanza uses he, him pronouns.
Thank you, Jay. My name's Jawanza, I use he, him pronouns, and today I'm representing thousands of New Yorkers, thousands of people across this country, and the millions of us around the world who understand and make no mistake, this election in the United States of America in 2020 is of the greatest importance. We are dealing with a climate of white supremacist totalitarianism, and it's being normalized by people like this man that just walked by institutions like NBC for not holding the fascist in chief in the White House accountable for his thousands upon thousands of lives, for his actions that have cost us hundreds of thousands of lives, for his actions that have traumatized thousands of children at our border. How do you think they're going to feel in 20 years? White supremacy and fascism, as Toni Morrison once wrote in 1995, that fascism is the succubus twin of racism. And the institutions in our society must be held accountable. They must hold the complexities of the moment that we are in. White supremacy breeds phenomena like voter disenfranchisement. White supremacy produces a culture of annihilation. President Trump and his administration has had us removed from the Paris agreements on the climate crisis, which they themselves were not sufficient. President Trump has had us removed from the World Health Organization in the middle of a global pandemic. And we have people in this country that refuse to acknowledge the moment that we're in. And that is why every single vote counts. Make no mistake. Make no mistake. I am no bedfellow or friend of Biden nor Harris. I am a strong leftist with a powerful socialist critique of capitalism, of neoliberalism. However, I understand the dangers of fascism. I understand the importance of democracy and the fragility of our system today when we have a man who claims to be democratically elected, challenging the validity of elections, challenging the validity of a vote, challenging the safety of voting by mail in the middle of a novel pandemic. That is something we should all be deeply concerned about. I tell my friends on the left, choose your adversary. Do you want to fight the fascists who will gun you down in the street? Do you think what's happening in Nigeria today cannot happen in the States? Do you think what happened in apartheid South Africa cannot happen in the States? It is happening. So I demand that NBC and all of our media institutions step into the power of their profession and hold this fascist accountable. The thousands upon thousands, the millions, the billions of people on this planet charge you to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Jawanza. Next up, we have Todd Fernandez, who uses he, him pronouns. Todd Fernandez is Executive and Legislative Director of Climate Crisis Policy. And by the way, the Radical Fairy holds a master's, yes, the Radical Fairy, holds a master's in law and human rights and democracy from the University of Pretoria, South Africa. In 2018, he launched Climate Action Mondays, demanding congressional climate legislation with Sunrise Movement, DSA, Food and Water Action, Climate Hawks Votes, and 350 NYC. fostering the Green New Deal. He also led efforts for the M.A. Brownfield's Revitalization Act, the LGBT Equality Act, the Climate Emergency Media Standards, Extinction Rebellion's New York Times Action, and the NYC Chase Coalition.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Hello, Rise and Resist. Thank you for your relentless activism, your relentless inspiration, your relentless defiance, and your relentless hope. I'm very grateful, and everyone in New York and beyond is grateful. I can't believe I'm here today in the United States in 2020, and free and fair elections are under siege by the current president. I really, literally cannot believe I'm saying this. In 2008, I spent a year in Africa studying democracy up front and close. It took me several months with working with lawyers from all over, reading these brilliant vanguard constitutions to understand how you could have a democracy in constitutional form and still have a dictator. I couldn't get my head around it, but I finally did. It's because the president controls the attorney general and the rule of law. It's because the president can control the elections and interfere with the elections. It's because the president can engage in self-aggrandizement and dealings with impunity, and it's because the president uses fear and anger as a tactic to divide and to intimidate any political opposition. Does any of this sound familiar? Yeah. We have everything on the line this year, and the only antidote to that is voting. And if that doesn't work, we will take to the streets. Yeah. Woo! In addition to that, my health, my equality, and my planet are on the line in this election. I had 2 heart stents earlier this year put in, and I had COVID-19. If it weren't for the ACA, I would not have had that covered. And because now I have a pre-existing condition, if that changes, I will not be covered. What will I do then? My equality, my civil rights are on the line. We spent many years fighting for marriage equality. And now they're stacking the court to overturn it. My husband from Colombia and I, you don't know what it's like to live in fear of deportation. And to then have that weight lifted one day. And then all of a sudden to wake up and say, oh, I have to fear that all over again. This is horrible. And the Equality Act, which just passed the House this past year, is now up and will grant civil rights equality to LGBT people across the nation and women, and that hangs in the balance in the next Congress. And the last piece, the planet. I couldn't believe a few years ago when I started studying this issue and found out that we only had a few years to stop pollution in order to prevent us going off a precipice, off a cliff of irreversible global warming that will make life and on this planet uninhabitable as we have known it throughout our evolution. This is happening right now on our watch. It's our pollution. We have a chance next year. Everything is queued up. The Democrats have come up with a climate crisis committee, a huge plan. It's not everything, but it's a start. People are ready for massive action in Congress and from the president next year to save our planet. And if we don't use this election to save our planet, we are all doomed. So I beg you all, please think about this as you're entering the polls. And the last point I'll make is about our right to protest. Nothing is more fundamental to democracy than the right to protest. We have to remind the police that the streets belong to the people. They do not belong to people with cars. That is a subset of the people. And we have to remind the police, we have to find out what their internal trainings and documents are about how to engage peaceful protesters, because I've seen firsthand that they have a system of interfering with peaceful protests designed to thwart our constitutional rights, and this is a plan and the way they are trained. We need transparency about those plans. We need that training to come out of the closet and into the light so we can fix it. Basically, we have to retrain our police departments to protect our constitutional rights. So I leave you with this. Whose streets?
Our streets!
Whose health?
Our health!
Whose democracy?
Our democracy!
Whose planet?
Our planet!
Whose vote?
Todd, for that powerful speech. Reverend Juan Carlos Ruiz regrets that he will not be able to join us today. He was going to talk about some of the issues surrounding immigration. I'm just going to take 1 second from my limited knowledge, far less reverence, to point out the fact that we have over 500 children currently in detention, and our country has no idea where their parents are. They don't know whether they're also in detention. They don't know whether they've been deported. They don't even know whether or not they are still alive. And that is due to the active malfeasance of this administration. We have thousands upon thousands of asylees, people only seeking to flee the violence in their country caused by this country's hunger for drugs and need to export weaponry, languishing in camps which are little more than concentration camps, and our government doesn't care. We have to get out, we have to vote, we have to replace this regime because we have to heal the soul of this nation. And now I'd like to introduce my colleague from Rise and Resist, Alexis Dancing. Right. If you've ever marshaled in action in New York City, odds are that Alexis either trained you or Alexis trained the person who trained you. Alexis is a longtime activist who cut her teeth to act up. For 30 years with Jamie Bauer, she has trained generations of activists in nonviolent civil disobedience and martial training. She is an active member of Rise and Resist.
I'm here with the fog of my anti-COVID mask on, clouding up my glasses. I'm here in a foggy state because for almost 60 years I've been living under patriarchy, and I'm sick and tired of it. I am here to welcome my younger feminist brothers and sisters to the franchise. I'm here to welcome everyone who will be voting for the first time in their first presidential election. Please, please come out and vote. In New York City, voting begins this Saturday. In New York State, voting begins this Saturday. Wake up and vote. Not all of us wanted to vote for Biden. Not all of us wanted to vote for Harris. But we all understand that voting is harm reduction. So let's come out and reduce some harm. We all believe in the power of the vote, and we are committed to a peaceful presidential transition. We envision it. We demand it. I'm also here to speak for the issues that affect us, not just as women, but affect anyone who ever grew in a womb and popped out of a vagina. What are our issues? Yes, our issues are safe and legal abortion access, the right to information about our bodies, an end to the maternal mortality statistics that overwhelmingly affect women of color, the pandemic of violence against transgender people. But we also face, all of us, the issues of a living wage, affordable housing, access to higher education that will cripple us for the rest of our lives, excellent child care for the next generation, like climate change, rape, abortion rights, maternal mortality are not just women's issues. These are people issues. So men, step up and vote. I'm turning out in person vote on November 3rd. Wild horses couldn't beat me. See you at the polls. Rise and resist!
Rise and resist! Rise and resist! Rise and resist!
Thank you, Alexis. Next up, for our final speaker, we have Justin Hendrix, who uses he, him pronouns. Justin is lead coordinator with Protect the Results, an ad hoc organization that is building a coalition of voters ready to mobilize if Donald Trump refuses to accept the results of the 2020 presidential election. Justin.
Thank you, Jay, and thank you to all of you. I am humbled to stand here today with you to talk about this moment after the election. When Jay started his speech today, he mentioned why we're here. Tonight, there's a debate. There's another opportunity for a member of the media to challenge Donald Trump for his refusal to commit to a peaceful transition of power. A peaceful transition of power. Something we've had in this country for decades, hundreds of years. A core aspect of our democracy, our system of governance. I read a number today. 21,000 polling locations closed across this country since 2016. The Republican Party has done everything in its power to stop us from voting, stop us from participating. Now they want to threaten us at the polls. They want to bring weapons and intimidate us. But I'm seeing lines at voting centers across the country. I'm seeing record numbers of mail-in ballots accepted in precincts. We are seeing the American people, the majority who never wanted this president in office. We are seeing them rise up and demand change in this moment. And yet we know this president may refuse to accept the result of their democratic action. We will meet him at the gate if that is what he chooses. There are over 100 national organizations, over 100 local organizations here in New York, many of whom are represented here today. I do not speak for them, I speak with them. If Donald Trump refuses to concede, he can expect us...
4 more years.
If Donald Trump refuses to concede, he can expect us...
Get the fuck out of here.
If Donald Trump refuses to concede, he can expect us to take to the streets in large numbers as soon as November 4th. We will be there, demanding that every vote is counted, that every voice is heard in every state across this country. We will protect the results. And if you want to find out where you can get involved, go to protecttheresults.com. Here in New York, you'll find an event on the map. And in over 200 places across this country, organizers are preparing. This is not something we want to do. It's not a protest that we want to have. It's not a demonstration that we want to lead. But if we must, we will. And we won't do it one day. We'll do it 2 and 3 and 4. We will sustain protest until every vote is heard and the rightful winner of the election is known to the American people. I hope you'll join us. I hope you will vote, starting in New York, October 24th. I hope you will join us in again demanding that the NBC moderator tonight hold Donald Trump accountable for his statements. And I hope that you'll join me in the streets on November 4th if it's necessary. Thank you.
Rise and resist! Rise and resist! Rise and resist! Rise and resist!
Protect our results.
Yeah!
Protect the vote. Every vote counts. Count every 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 vote. Thank you, Justin. I want to thank all the speakers that came out to join us today. In the last 24 hours, we've had another reminder of how vital and how important this election is. Yesterday, the Supreme Court made a decision that essentially will deprive the right to vote from many disabled Americans and Americans with a compromised immune system, because they knock down curbside voting, the ability for poll workers to walk out to a curb out of doors to accept a ballot from a disabled person who feels that their health might be too compromised by entering a polling station. This morning, the Senate Judiciary Committee, in a 12-0 vote, a 0 vote because not a single Democrat showed up to the committee in protest of this process that has put a Supreme Court justice in play during an election, not before an election, not a month before an election, during an election, while people are voting. Amy Coney Bryant has been approved by that Republican-only 12 members of the Senate Judiciary Committee to go before the full Senate. That happened this morning. We have to get out and vote. We have to encourage everyone we know to vote. We have to protect every vote. We have to monitor our polling stations. We have to check and make sure that our mail-in votes were counted. We have to do everything within our power to ensure that every single vote is counted in this election. We are voting as if our lives depended on it, because our lives depend on it. Thank you.
Rise and resist! Rise and resist! Rise and resist!
So I want to thank everybody for coming to this part of the demo. For people who would like a little more demo, we are going to sashay / proceed a couple blocks over to the public plaza of Fox News. This is a privately operated public plaza. We have a right to be there. They don't like us there. But we have a right to be there, and we're going to go there and stand with our props and do a little photo opportunity while we're there. So if you can't come because you're done and you have to go back to work or wherever, thank you for being here. You have some time and some
Okay, guys. Yeah. Okay, guys. They're gonna go ahead and do a walk over to the plaza, which is near the News Corp offices. Like they mentioned, it's public plaza, so they have the right to be there, you know, even though they may not like it, but people who run the plaza, but it is a public space. I'm gonna head over with them, and I probably won't be live streaming once we get there. If they're walking over as sort of a little march, then I'll probably go over as they're marching over. And beyond that, I'll probably go ahead and just do photos at that point and maybe a little video. One, because, yeah, power is going low on this, so. So,
NBC hosts the debate tonight.
okay, guys. Yep. Like I said, I'm gonna take a walk down with them as they're going.
your shoulder, mine. Yes. My shoulder, your
Yeah, once they get over there, I'll go ahead and take the stream down. Just because I have to figure out power-wise on this phone, so.
Look what I got. Wait, look what I got. You sound sad.
Voting starts Saturday. Every vote counts. Every vote counts. Every vote counts. Every vote counts.
Count every vote.
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 Every vote counts.
Okay guys, I'm gonna go ahead and take the stream down. Thanks for tuning in. I gotta charge this phone up. I'll see you guys on the front lines.